The mental health benefits
Huge.
of cold water, you can get them at 60 degrees.
That's right. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable, because then that practice of how you navigate that comes outside the water.
Right.
So in the real life, outside the water, when discomfort happens, we're like, okay, well, we handled that. I can handle this.
Hi, I'm Sarah Schmidt. I'm 52 years old, and I can honestly say that I have never felt better. For the first 50 years of my life, I navigated some pretty fucking hard things that I like to call my Wholey Schmidt moments. They include things like being diagnosed with cancer, navigating my sexuality, adopting children, two divorces, losing my dad, and having a biological child in my 40s. After decades of some really, really hard work, I have fallen deeply in love with myself and my life. Turns out that embracing the magic and the expansion that comes with getting older, it isn't a bad place to start. I'm here to prove that life doesn't have to decline with age. In fact, it gets a whole lot better. On Wholey Schmidt, we are going to dive into my curiosities around wellness and longevity and mindset, and we are going to do it with really vulnerable, thoughtful conversations with people that I really love and admire. This season, we are going to celebrate and honor growth and transformation and find profound beauty in connection. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to Wholey Schmidt. I'm your host, Sarah Schmidt. I am really excited to introduce you to a woman who's been an incredible expander for me over the last 2 years as we've launched this podcast. Libby DeLana is a remarkable human doing really ordinary things with incredible grace. She is the host of This Morning Walk, a podcast that I have long admired, and the author of 2 books. One, Do Walk, and her second book, which is just coming out shortly, Cold Exposure. Libby and I talk about the power of taking care of ourselves, the transformative power of being in nature, and she tells us a little bit about her story of taking a walk every single day for the last 13 years. I'm excited for you to learn from Libby, and I would love to hear what resonates with you and what you'd like to hear more of. So please join us in the show notes, comment on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're listening. Share with us the things that you're responding to that are resonating with you. Join me in welcoming Libby DeLana to the podcast. Welcome, Libby DeLana.
Thank you.
So great to have you on Wholey Schmidt. I've been looking forward to this for months.
As have I.
Well, thank you. Before we hit record, I was just saying, and I want to just restate it, that you've really been an expander for me. You've really helped me rethink even what is possible just by the way you show up every day. And I just come to this conversation with a lot of gratitude. And I just want to start with that.
Well, thank you. You're never really sure how we all as individuals show up in some ways. And so I'm glad it's positive.
It's been extremely positive. Yeah. And real. And I like the sort of no bullshit. Here I am just trying to do it the best I can and every day. And like that piece, I think is so important for all of us to see and experience, because I mean, we live in this world where we tend to think about there's a ideal, a standard. Mm-hmm. And if we can't meet it, then what do we do?
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. And I do not meet that standard, and that's okay.
You've met one for me. So thank you. I wanted to start with just a few, I'm curious. I want to know more about you, but I want to know what your favorite thing is about your morning ritual, how you start your day.
Well, I start my day. I've been going for a morning walk every single day for the last 13 years. I haven't missed a day. Some days are short, some days are long, some days are cold and rainy, other days are sweltering and grumpy. Sometimes I'm walking in new cities, sometimes I'm doing the same loop I've done for a very long time. And I started this practice, which I call This Morning Walk, when I turned 50, actually. So it's been 13 years. And honestly, life was grand. I feel extraordinarily privileged in so many ways, not the least of which is I'm able-bodied to be able to take this walk. And I don't take that for granted at all. I was actually born with club feet, which meant that when I learned how to walk, I was learning how to walk in casts after having had my feet broken. So I don't take any of it lightly. But at the time, I was very fortunate. I had a career I loved. I guess by all measures, I was doing well in that career, had a healthy family, great relationships, lived in a beautiful part of the world. There was very little that I could complain about. And yet, for a little bit of time, I woke up and I thought, gosh, I don't particularly, there's something that was sort of scratchy I didn't feel whole is the only way I can describe it. And it wasn't burning feeling. It wasn't, sort of a desperate feeling. It was just sort of more of a recognition. And I guess what I did for a couple of weeks was just sort of explore that. What did that mean? And what I realized was that growing up as a little girl, I spent a lot of time outside. I was very free range. I loved I went to summer camp up in the Adirondacks, spent a lot of time in the wilderness. And what I really came to understand is that was an essential part of who I am. And at 50, with carpools and meetings, and I spent a lot of time indoors. And I think the only time I spent outdoors was walking from my back door to my car, or from, my car to the front door of the grocery. So I just decided that I'd get up every day and go for a walk. And it was not about 10,000 steps. It was not about how many miles, or it was not about accomplishment or working out or exercise. It was really about just making sure that every single day the outdoors was part of my life. And it became a non-negotiable, sort of like drinking water or brushing my teeth. It is something that is essential to me and has been honestly my greatest therapist, teacher, friend. And so that's how I start my day. That was a long-winded way of saying I start my day with a walk.
No, that's beautiful. There's so many things that popped into my mind as you were speaking. One was if people follow you on Instagram, they would assume that most of your life now takes place outdoors, right? I mean, beautiful travel and the hiking and the plunging and all the things. And it's a beautiful way to think about how we exist in the world. You are in nature a lot.
I think what's happened over the course of these 13 years is my career has changed. So I'm no longer in the office the same way I was. So that opened up space. And so yes, I try and be outside as much as I possibly can. That's not to say I don't love things that are indoors. I love going to museums and bookstores. I love it too. I love my cozy bed inside. But I guess what I come to realize is I'm in love with the world. And so to be outside and in the world is like a love affair.
I'm curious about that moment that you decided to walk. I mean, was it turning 50? Was it just, can you say a little bit about it? Because it sounds like it was a big moment there that got you there outside and then doing it every single day.
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say it was more of a whisper from the universe than it was a dramatic moment. And I guess I don't know, there's something about aging that I've learned to listen to those whispers. I will say I am generally not good at that. It is not a skill I have. I spend a lot of time up in my head and being logical and, and so in a way it was sort of out of my norm. And I can't tell you why I heard it other than to say, when that little whisper said, but you love the outdoors, I felt lit up. And actually, that's a lesson that I'll talk about in a minute. And I literally just said, I commit to this for the first 30 days. And after 30 days, I was like, ooh, I am not going back. This has been essential. Yeah. And so I guess the invitation to anybody listening is not to say that what I'm doing is right for you. I'm not saying that being in the outdoors is right for anybody other than me. But I think the invitation is to try and find a place in your life where you can get really quiet so you can hear that whisper. And try it out. And there may be several. Try them out and see what lights you up. So that's the thing that I think has been the biggest lesson, which is I think I learned in that moment that when I took this walk, I just felt, I mean, look at my hands now. I'm like waving them around. I tilt my head back. I have goosebumps literally in my body. I just feel like, oh my gosh, when I think about going for my walk, I feel held. I feel loved. I feel inspired. And so I try now when I feel that way of thinking about something, I keep going towards it. I keep, whatever it is, the same thing with cold water. So I just keep trying to be quiet enough to hear what the whisper is, try it out. And if it lights me up, I take the next best step. I don't try and accomplish anything. I just keep moving towards it.
Oh my God. I love that so much. And I relate to it on so many levels. I mean, this whole podcast was a whisper, something that was saying to me, you have something to say.
Yes.
You have something to say. And I mean, for a long time in my life, for decades, I tried to respond to the whisper in all kinds of ways that were, kind of traditional and socially conforming and, more subtle and demure.
Quiet.
Yeah. Not quite as loud, not quite as bold. Right.
Yes.
And
I understand that.
And then there was this moment where, I mean, the whisper was a roar in me and I couldn't, it needed to come out.
Well, congratulations for doing that. I think it's honestly, it's a big step. It's brave. And I do think when you take those steps, those around you feel your energy, feel your positivity and admire it. Even if they don't want to start a podcast or go for a walk, it becomes contagious at some level because seeing somebody so lit up by what they do, whatever it is magnificent.
Right. Why do you think that this is, I mean, in my experience, this is something that women tend to struggle with a lot more than men, is responding to that call, that urge, that nudge, taking themselves seriously enough to ask the question, what lights me up? I'm wondering if you can talk about that a little bit as a mom, as a woman in the world,
Well, I think so much of our culture has, as I think you and I said, we have these idealized pictures of what, I don't know, let's call it successful women, moms, CEOs, whatever it is. There's a fairly narrow definition, honestly. And in some ways, some of those times it doesn't even include women in that. So to step into those roles feels comfortable in a place that maybe you haven't felt invited. I have to say I spent a lot of time in advertising. It wasn't quite Mad Men. I had a lot of great colleagues, but it wasn't particularly female friendly. I think it takes there's a lot of emotional labor that comes with that. And so you're spending a lot of time momming or partnering or leading or stepping into a space where you don't feel particularly, I don't want to say safe. That's not what I felt. I just didn't feel like, I don't know, the path hadn't really been paved before. So there's a lot of effort in that. I think it just takes a lot of energy. And so what sort of seems to fall by the wayside because of these norms is this sort of caretaking of ourselves and prioritizing anything about ourselves. Why do you think it is? Why do you think?
I have 4 kids and the oldest is 31 and the youngest is 8. So I'm still momming pretty hardcore. And I still see this vibe in the world, in the mom community of kind of the glorification of suffering.
Yes.
Well
said. Yes.
And
putting others first.
The more that's on my plate, the more I'm doing for others, the less time I had for myself, the better I am at squeezing in little bits of this here and there. And,
right.
And, oh my God, I took a shower today, and, that kind of energetic vibe,
yes, I
feel like is like really, really, really toxic because, even myself, I remember when my kids were little and we got a babysitter 15 hours a week with my wife and I, and my mom was like, well, I never even would have thought of hiring help, And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, well, you fucking should, because you were miserable. So
I lived with you.
I lived with you. I actually took care of my siblings when you left to go,
Right.
Go to the grocery store, and oh, you're so lucky, that you can do those things. Or, I mean, I even feel like I sometimes have to be apologetic for the fact that I can do creative things, that I can take care of myself, that I have the time. But there is this toxicity around, it's for those that are, it's selfish, and we should be really grateful that we got the time. And I mean, there's just a whole bunch of messages that I think are out there still very powerfully.
You don't think they're shifting a little bit? Do you feel a shift?
I do feel a shift in certain, I certainly feel a shift, and I love spending time with friends that are in their 30s and early 40s.
Yes.
I feel a profound shift in their language. But when I settle in with moms that are like truly my own age, I mean, I'm 52. Now I don't have a lot of mom friends that have 8-year-olds. Okay. Right. So I'm like a little out there, but I mean, it is only those that are like their nest is empty who are now like, oh, I get to now,
Right.
And I still think we have a lot of work to do.
I think you're right. I have a very dear friend, Alex Elle, who's an extraordinarily bright and articulate human. And what she says about self-care is that it's actually community care. And so we call it self-care, which it is, but in actuality, by taking care of ourselves, we are taking care of those next to us and around us. And I so hold that dear. I remember when she first said that to me, I thought, wow, that's such a beautiful expansion of the concept of self-care, because I think even the word self for us women is like, oh my gosh, it's too me focused or something.
Do I have a self? Because I don't even
I
feel very enmeshed with all the humans around me.
Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
I had 6 days alone. I mean, alone this summer. Now I can't think of the last time. The last time I was alone would have been like when I was maybe like 22. I did a 7-day silent retreat at a Benedictine monastery.
Oh my gosh.
I did that a few times in those early 20s. But since then, I probably couldn't tell you I was alone for more than a few hours. And first of all, glorious. It was insanely fun. I discovered that I am like quite possibly the best company there is like ever.
100%.
And yet it was funny how I got these very mixed messages. It was like, wow, oh my God, I wish I could do that. Or I did that for a day and it was amazing. And then just like peculiar glances around like, how did you survive? How did you manage? And I came out of those 6 days. I was such a more whole human. I mean, the joy that I showed up with when all the kids, the peace, the calm, the connection I had to myself, the things I wanted to share, all these things. It was just, I truly was a gift to my community after having taken really good care of myself. Yeah. I really love that. I do think Alex is extraordinary. And I really like the two of you together, and the way you really bring out just such a beautiful best in each other. And when you're connecting,
it's a love affair. But I think, yes, I do too. I've learned so much from our relationship. And I think it's so interesting that in a way, what we have glorified is this, expenditure of our effort, not on behalf of ourselves, right? It's just interesting. And there's probably a whole conversation to be had around that. But I think that's one of the reasons my walk for me is actually so joyous. Is I walk often with friends, but like heading out in the beautiful morning with my headlamp on, and it's quiet and the community's waking up and the sun's, I'm like, I love my company.
You're welcoming the world. You're saying, I can totally relate to that. I don't walk every day, but my favorite place to walk is up at my home in northern Wisconsin. And
that must be gorgeous.
I mean, when it's cold, when it's wet, when it's snowy, when it's sunny, it's just me in the woods. And then, whatever else I encounter, coyotes and deer and, all kinds of other interesting animals too, which makes it more exciting. Yeah. We have a mountain lion up in our, woods. Yeah, that's been fun. bears, But yeah, I feel like I'm greeting the world, greeting the morning.
We are.
Yeah. Oh. So much of my podcast and now this next season has been talking to people about their Wholey Schmidt moments. And what my goal was, what my aim was to invite people to authentically feel like they could share these moments. Then they're usually hard moments, right? That where we just have learned so much about ourselves and just kind of extract the gold, the silver lining in it, and do it in a way where we don't have to worry about how we say it or what words we use and might I offend you and all the things that might get in the way from really forming authentic connection in those moments. And as I was thinking about this, this conversation we were going to have today, I wondered what would Libby define as one of her Wholey Schmidt moments? And not only what is it, but what gold did it bring, to your life that you still feel like you're savoring and benefiting from today?
Well, it's such a great question. And thank you for having those conversations with people, because I think, to your point, identifying and recognizing those moments are important. They're important for us to reflect on. And, it's almost like remember what was happening at those moments and how they were motivating. So I knew you were going to ask this, and I tried to do a little review, a little audit. And, there's various, I guess, a lot have happened for me in the last 5 years in terms of Wholey Schmidt moments. There are definitely some, when I was a teenager, there was definitely some, in terms of career. I think probably, and I decided that the most relevant, there's probably 2, 3 that's happened in the last few years that I think are born out of being 62, almost 63 years old. And I don't think I would have understood this unless I had lived a life like this. So the one I'll start by talking about is something that actually I am still to this day oddly, let's see, what's the word? Am I mortified? Am I embarrassed? Am I like,
well, now I can't wait.
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't even know how to really hold it, because I don't know. I feel so unqualified. So my Wholey Schmidt moment was, I guess it was now 3 years ago. I received a wonderful DM from someone I didn't know, but who was a creative director. I spent my whole advertising career as an art director, which meant I, took the pictures and cared what typefaces we were using. I still really care about typography, and I still really I really love kerning in a really absurd way. Like all my mugs are lined up and kerned every day. It's a real disaster. In any case, I received this wonderful on Instagram, this wonderful inquiry from a really smart, lovely creative director over at Clinique, actually. And she said, "We're doing this campaign. We'd love to have you join." And I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, as creative director, I spent all my career behind the camera. I'm like, I said to her, "Sure, I'd love to be on set. I'd love to." She's like, "No, in front of the camera."
Oh my gosh.
And I thought to myself, I mean, even as I say this, there's something in my body that that both lights me up and terrifies me. And I think as I've gotten older, I do enjoy these things that terrify me. And I love the notion of a beginner's mind. I love learning things. I was like, in front of the camera, and so I asked her a few more questions. She told me who the photographer was going to be. Dario Calmese, just an extraordinary human being. He had just been the first Black photographer for the cover of Vanity Fair. He shot Viola Davis, which is an incredible photograph. Go back and look for it.
I know what photograph I know what you're talking about.
It has historical references that are important. And I thought, okay, Lib, get over the fear, which I guess I'm kind of good at, and just show up. You love being on set. To work with Dario? Are you kidding me? And I was like, I don't have any idea how to model. And it is a craft. Yes. And it is not my craft. It is not something I have any idea how to do. I know how to give direction. So I showed up, we did the shoot. I fell in love with Dario. We have a lovely relationship. It was a great campaign that starred 2 other extraordinary women. I mean, I honestly don't know why I was invited, but one was the director of Free Solo. I mean, Shai Vassarelli, incredible. So, and this incredible DJ. So it was the three of us. We were part of this campaign. And as a result of that, an agency reached out. To make a long story short, I now spend quite a bit of time in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And it would be very reasonable for anybody to say, wait a minute, you? Believe me, I say it all the time. Here's the reason I enjoy doing it. And I think it's important. And I love being on set. I love creating pictures. And if I'm part of the ecosystem, okay. I'm annoying because I always say to the photographer, can I see the picture so I know what to do? But I've worked with Tone Goodman. She's the sustainability editor for Vogue. Brandon Maxwell. Just shot a campaign with Jonathan Van Ness, which will come out in Sephora in a little bit. I mean, ridiculous. Why do I do it? I do it because I have chosen, and this is not to say it's right or wrong, left or right, up or down. This is just my choice. I've been gray hair since I was mid-30s. I chose never to dye it, not for any real statement other than I'm really bad at all those kind of things. I actually kind of liked my white. It turned white right away. And so I had this kind of interesting age signal to the world. So I have been living with that since I was 32, and I've chosen to age very naturally. And again, I'm not saying it's right. It's just me. It's just who I am. And I remember thinking as I was growing up, I didn't really have anybody to look to for whom the sort of mainstream media honored. There was never women who were I'd see Jane Goodall. I thought she was absolutely fabulous. I love George O'Keeffe. I mean, they were glorious to me. I have one picture of Lauren Hutton. I mean, she's Lauren Hutton. And I thought that's how I want to move through. And again, there is zero judgment. Everybody's got to do what feels beautiful to them. And so I decided I'd keep doing it because if I wanted to see someone like me in this mainstream situation. And so I keep doing it. And it's really, really, excuse my language, really fucking fun. I've worked with some like photographers I never worked with when I was on the other side of the camera. It's been a blast. I've traveled because of it. I get to dress up. So that was kind of my why are you doing it? Do you belong here? The answer is no, but I'm going to keep showing up.
I love it so much. What does it feel like to be so seen in this chapter in your life?
Oh, wow.
I mean, we can talk about being seen in lots of ways, but I mean, you're talking about really, truly being seen.
That's a really great question. I don't know that I feel that. And that's not to say that anybody needs to see me. I guess that's not how I move through the world. So, for example, I've been posting on Instagram since it started simply because as a creative director, I felt like, I need to know how to use this. And just because I've been on there a long time, I seem to have, a few followers. But when I post, I honestly I have no strategy. I'm a terrible marketer, even though that's what I did. And so in terms of being seen, I guess I don't expect anybody. I don't know how to answer that. I don't feel it particularly. I mean, I feel seen and loved by my dear friends, but the larger world, I don't, I don't know that I get any kind of emotional nourishment, and this sounds cheap, but I don't care how many people like my Instagram posts. It just doesn't, that's not a place where I feel nourished and loved. And so, to have my picture up, I mean, I did a campaign for Verizon in my bathing suit at age 62. And I was like, ooh, maybe I don't want. I'm walking through the train station at Moynihan in New York City. I'm like, oh my God, there it is. Like, well, you know what? This is real life. And if anybody looks at that photograph and feels a little bit better or feels a little themselves feel seen, that's the goal. I will say in that campaign, I wasn't signed up as a model. I was signed up as a stunt man, which I thought was brilliant.
I love that. I love that. Well, when I think about the way like I see you, it is not so much this new iteration of you in front of the camera, but it's the writer, it's the photographer, the way I mean, your Instagram gives us a view into how you see the world. Because it's so much, it's very artistic, and it is so much about what you are seeing
right
in your daily life, right? Yeah. And then through the podcast and the really pithy and sometimes silly things that you guys are talking about. When I think about that sense of how like I want to be seen, it isn't so much what does she look like, but but like, do people really have a sense, and I don't need this from just, strangers, but do the people I love most, do they have a sense of what makes me tick?
My dearest friends really do. I have a really just a rowdy, ridiculous, beautiful, loving community that I call the mermaids. We all call the mermaids each other mermaids, and we're a group on both coasts that get in the cold water together. And the thing about getting in icy cold water together is it's very vulnerable and very intimate. And I would say because we are doing that act together, each other very well. Yeah. When fear arises, when joy arises, when, and so that is just this, cut to your point, it's this felt scene. You know what I mean? It's like, those people know me. One of my favorite stories is we were about to get in the water here on the East Coast. And it was really stormy and it was really cold. I was going to say, don't do this at home. It was well below zero. It was blowing like stink. We've been doing this a long time, so we know how to keep ourselves safe. But it was very cold. And I arrived at the beach with kind of a level of fear, sort of stuck in my bones. And I remember as I was walking to the beach, I literally turned to my friend and Ari, and I didn't have to say anything. And she looked me square in the eye and she reached for my hand and we walked in together. And so that's what I think you mean by scene, right? Like it was so intimate and it was so generous and so loving. And I felt so truly loved. And, we got in the cold water. It was terrifying and wonderful. And she just sat right next to me. We didn't have to say a word.
I had a visceral reaction to you saying that. I think I can feel what you felt in that moment. Those moments when it isn't about the words, it's just about a connection.
Yeah. And it's, I tell that story a lot. So it was meaningful, right? It stays in your body. And, it's sort of like I think back on that and I think, oh my gosh, I want all my relationships to feel like that.
Oh, yeah.
To have that moment when somebody does that thing that just nourishes you, didn't even know you wanted. One of my dear mermaid friends, she's just a spectacular, sparkly human being. Her name is Sarah. And she started in our group that when we got to the beach, we were going to hug, literally physically hug and say out loud, I love you. Because we had done this research that basically said you need 8 hugs a day. Yes. I happen to live by myself. I'm like, where am I going to, it's medicine. Yeah. And so we arrive and everybody's like hugging and I love you. And it's, so great. It is. Yeah.
My mom always said you need 7 a day. Now, I don't know, maybe it's now 8.
You know what? We'll take all of them.
We'll take all of them. 8 sounds great. Oh my gosh. I have a home on a lake in northern Wisconsin that gets very icy. I mean, you could drive a truck out on it in the winter, right? So we will often bust through the ice to get in the water. And I have to admit, I'm a little like, God, I need to find some mermaids up in northern Wisconsin.
That's hard to do by yourself.
It's really hard to do by yourself.
It is. Congratulations.
I don't think it's as much fun. Honestly,
you have us. We're just not connected. We're just not with you. But you have us.
Having more fun.
We do have a lot of fun, but next time you get down in, just think those mermaids are here with me.
The mermaids are here with me. Yeah. That's so great. What kind of advice or thoughts would you have for women who are listening to us talking today and they're they're not feeling seen. They're feeling invisible, exhausted, you know, worn out, maybe lost in this season of their life. Maybe they've, you know, raised their kids. The nest is empty. You know, there's some, what would you?
Yeah, it's such a generous question. But first, before I answer that, do you have an auger to get through your ice?
I sure do.
Oh, that's on my Christmas list this year.
We
I've been borrowing somebody's.
We ice fish up there.
Yeah,
So we usually
you're all
go
set.
out. I have a big sled that we pull out on the ice, and we set up a tent, and we get the tip ups and the whole thing. And yeah,
Oh my gosh,
I grew
I'm so
up.
happy.
I mean, I grew up ice fishing and spearing with my grandfather on the shores of Lake Winnebago in Wisconsin. Yeah, the cold is, I mean, come on. My dad was at the Ice Bowl, you know, in Lambeau Field. So it's in my DNA, so to speak.
I get it. Well, I honor you getting in by
thank you.
yourself because it's I have a little tank out here that has frozen over, and getting in is a completely different game by yourself.
Well,
it's a different
plunge.
practice.
My plunge at home is 48 degrees, and that's plenty. Okay,
That's good. Yeah,
I don't need to break ice on a
No.
daily basis.
Right, as we
Special
were saying,
occasions only.
right. Well, as we were saying, the thing about getting in the cold water, and then I'll answer your question.
Yeah,
It's not a competition. Colder isn't better. Longer isn't better. Just get in and get out when you need to.
Yeah.
And when you need to get out, get out.
There's a lot of good research about this now, and I know you've got a book coming out about this topic. But I mean, you know, the mental health benefits,
huge,
of cold water happen at, you know, you can get them at 60 degrees.
Cold shower.
Yeah, cold shower, literally. And I think people have been most vocal, you know, the Wim Hof stuff about, you know, you got to break the ice. And I mean, it's a little off-putting, because I think what we miss is the point of, like, just some level of discomfort is a really good thing.
That's right. That's right. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable, because then that practice of how you navigate that comes outside the water. Right. So in the real life, outside the water, when discomfort happens, we're like, okay, well, we handled that. I can handle this.
I talk about this a lot, Libby, with my kids and friends. I'm like, you know, let yourself be hungry. Go be cold. Be too hot. You know, like, have a conversation that's like extremely uncomfortable, where you feel like you do not know what you're talking about. Like, unfortunately, I think we often have to now be really pragmatic about getting uncomfortable, because our lives have become so comfortable. But I think about this a lot in parenting, you know, is how can I really just let my kids really experience significant discomfort now? Because if I don't do it now, I mean, they're going to get to 30 and they're going to fall apart when the real world, you know, crashes right into them.
You need to practice.
You have to practice. Yeah.
You have to
and
practice.
Like, just like I go to the gym and lift very heavy weight, I got to flex that muscle of being uncomfortable, being unsure, being uncertain, you know, like not knowing shit, you know, like, just so that I can learn how to, like, go with the flow.
100%. I mean, that's what I mean, the cold water taught me how to model. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. No idea. I mean, so yeah, on set, it's pretty uncomfortable. Tony Goodman looking on set, like, whoa. I'd come up and whisper to the photographer, like, can you just give me some tips? Any notes?
Yeah, please.
I'm very coachable.
Right. Coachable. Anything you want to add here?
Anything. I mean, literally anything. But you asked a great question, which is, you know, what can somebody do if they are feeling, I don't know, unmotivated, unseen, not nourished? And maybe you found this too, that by doing something new, well, let me back up. So it dovetails with what I said earlier about going for a walk, which is see if you can find a little space of quiet to listen to the whispers. What are those whispers? If you can possibly begin to sort of discern what is it for you, is the whisper saying, try pottery, you've always loved cooking. You've cooked all your whole life, cooking, go to a choir. So if you can find a quiet space to begin to identify maybe what that thing is that, you know, as I described, makes you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't stop thinking about this. It's so exciting. And then that little voice, I call that little voice Ruby DeBina. I've named her. And when Ruby shows up and she's like, it's too cold. You shouldn't go in the water. It's not safe. Who do you think you are getting on set? Like, what do you? And I now talk to her. I'm like, Ruby, you know what? I know why you're here. You have shown up to keep me safe. I appreciate you. You go back to bed. You have a seat, honey. I love you. I am okay, sister. I got it. And I appreciate your warning. So as soon as Ruby shows up, invite her feedback and then ask her to sit down. And then I would say, try and begin to recognize what is that thing that lights you up before Ruby comes in and says, who the hell do you think you are joining a choir? You sang when you were 3 years old and you loved it, but before Ruby shows up, what's that thing that you think to yourself, God, I'd love to open a bakery. Gosh, I'd love to be in a choir. And then just take one step towards it. Just start baking in your kitchen. Just go into your car and start singing out loud. And literally just incrementally, gently, go gently. Just begin to, and if it continues to feel wonderful, continue towards it. If at any point you're like, no, okay, come back and try it again. I also think, to your point, one of my favorite phrases by Dean Karnassus, an ultramarathon runner, and he says something along the lines, I hope I have this sort of right, which is, don't let comfort get in the way of happiness. So what I think happens sometimes is that we don't take that scary step or that, sort of beginner's mind first step towards something because it's not comfortable. We feel in over our heads. Again, can you imagine me on set for Clinique I had no idea. But if I had said, ooh, I'm not comfortable, I don't know what I'm doing, I would have never gotten to the happy part. So I think it's find the quiet, take little incremental, gentle steps towards what, I sort of call it the sparkles. And don't let Ruby convince you anything other than this is what you should try. Ruby's convincing. She's kind of sexy. She's got these big red lips and a scarf and cat eye glasses, and she kind of long nails that she taps on the computer like, are you paying attention? I'm like, sister, you look fucking great, but I am not listening.
That's hilarious. I've been doing a lot of, or not so much recently, but as I was about to hit 50, I started doing some internal family systems work.
Oh, yeah.
With a coach that I had hired, and I discovered all kinds of rubies.
Aren't they amazing?
That were influencing all kinds of things in my life.
Yes.
And those are, all those parts of me that were, trying to control things or very hyper vigilant or constantly,
the firefighter,
the firefighters and all those things. Right.
Yeah.
And, I now have a morning meeting, with rubies.
Them all. Oh, yeah. Great idea.
Yeah, I sit down and we have a little chat and I ask if anybody has anything they want to say. And, a little bit of reassurance, like, yep, I'm a grown up now. You guys it's okay. It's okay. Everybody can just take a deep breath here. We got a grown up in charge,
It's great. And so smart.
It's become kind of a daily practice, part of my morning. And sometimes I do it actually while I'm walking.
Yeah.
Or driving, depending on if I'm dropping somebody off. But, being in a relationship with those parts of myself that keep me from doing and being has helped me do and be. Right?
Well said. Absolutely. Well, and it's so amazing. Once you have sort of a relationship with those voices or those parts, it's amazing what can happen.
Yeah.
I'm doing things now I never would have thought I would be doing, but it's because I now have a loving relationship with those pieces.
Yeah.
And it's helpful.
They feel pretty chill most of the time because
I feel seen.
Because I'm checking, that's so yeah, if you don't feel seen, I think maybe the question is, what parts of you do you need to look at?
Yeah.
What
well
are you
said.
not?
Yeah,
it's not that simple, but I think that's a place to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. Yep.
Let me tell me about, what are some of the things in your life right now that just you're most proud of?
Oh my goodness. Well, I feel as if our sons are kind, empathetic, moving through the world as tall, smart, articulate, kind men. And that is really joyous to see. To have young men moving through this world with kindness is really heart expanding. So that certainly, As you mentioned, I just finished the second book, which had you told me 15 years ago as an art director that I'd be writing, I would have said, nope,
Yeah.
that's not my craft. And I still, Ruby's got a loud voice in this narrative, honestly. And much like modeling, being a wonderful, beautiful writer is a real craft that I admire, and it is not my dominant craft. So, very happy about that. And I guess it's ultimately, I'm really happy about my life. I feel very much as if I'm in alignment with who I am and how I'm living, and I know that is extraordinary privilege. And again, I think I said to you before we turned on record, which is, in many ways, I'm the happiest I've ever been. And it's not to say I wasn't happy the rest of my life. I actually think of myself as a kind of genuine happy person. There are definitely struggles and hard times, and like any other ding dong. But life feels pretty. I feel very, very fortunate. A lot of gratitude, and I feel like my decision making is in alignment with who I am. Here's one quick little thing. So I decided a couple of years ago that every quarter I would take a class. And most of them are online because on a variety of subjects. And again, it's like sort of anchoring in this concept of the beginner's mind. So everything from a class with Thich Nhat Hanh's Plum Village about Zen and the art of saving the planet, to biomimicry, to mending with this incredible woman, Katrina Radaba. So there's often 2-month classes that you meet, and that I'm really proud of that. It's sort of this ongoing curiosity and student of life. I mean, I have to say at 62, I feel like I know nothing. So there's a lot to learn.
I can totally relate to that. Oh, I love that. Well, I noticed that recently you started talking more about your home and how you're thinking about sustainability, which I think which really resonated with me, because I built a house that was all full of reclaimed and recycled and
amazing
solar and, all the things around sourcing, and
it's hard.
It takes a little longer. Yeah. It's a little more expensive. My home has 5,000 square feet of maple that was taken from a building, the framing of a building built by Thomas Edison and his brother, who had a phonograph factory in Wisconsin in the 20s.
That's so beautiful.
So all the floors that we walk on and the treads of our stairs are all made of what we call the Edison maple. And there's something that is like, first of all, it's gorgeous. You can't find maple like that. It just has all this texture and color, and it's just, ridiculous.
All the stories embedded in it.
Stories galore. And then all the tile in my home, it was taken out of a convent in the suburbs of Chicago, and it's French encaustic tile that was made in the late 1800s. Inch thick.
So
gorgeous.
Beautiful.
And a friend had, when this building was bought and sold and finally was going to be turned into condos, he bought the tile and he went in there and he took it all out. And just about every piece of tile in my home, every hearth, every bathroom, my kitchen backsplash actually is the chapel tile.
It's so beautiful.
And then there's all kinds of other stories about all the other wood and the stone and the this and the that. But when I feel so much like I am connected to the world beyond me in this home, right? And I feel like having my kids grow up in this house that is truly like on its, third, fourth, fifth iteration, right? In some ways is such a like crazy gift. I don't even know that they really realize it, but I just had a dining room table made out of pine taken down on the land. I'll have to send you a picture of it.
Oh my gosh.
And 14 of us can sit there and have dinner on the pine table that was, on the trees that grew on the land, where we built the house. It's just, there's something for me about being really connected, I mean, I'm a connector. I need to feel that
Yeah.
with humans, but also with the world and the earth. And I have this really clear belief sense that, the world is very small for me,
Right.
and very small. Like I feel very connected to people in places that are very, very far away, and yet it feels very close. And some of it is, I think, just those ways in which we bring those intentions into like our daily life, through how we live, through the spaces we create, all those things. I see you really paying attention to that. And so it doesn't surprise me that you're so happy right now, because I think when we really dial in and listen, to the whispers, I mean, that's where the joy is.
And when we can express it, right, with a kind of sense of freedom, which I think is a little bit has to do with age for me, honestly. But I love those stories of your house. I love that. And what came up for me as you were talking about it is that the material that you're surrounding yourself with have stories embedded in it and sort of an element of soul in them.
Yeah.
And sure, can we go to a store and simply make a checklist and purchase things and bring them in? And I don't want to portray myself as some, extraordinary, that I did an extraordinary job, but I tried to be very mindful of it best we could.
Yep.
And all those decisions, are the things that really feel meaningful. I mean, they have a kind of, this is going to sound super woo. I don't even really know what I'm talking about, other than those things have an energetic resonance to them. So, one of the things I talked about was I live in an 1830s house. I saved all the flooring from the kitchen and then burned it, which is the Japanese style of shugiban, and then used that as walls in various places. Now, are there brand new walls? Yes, but those pieces are great. And every time I look at them, I don't know, the best way I can describe it is my shoulders go down. I'm like, that's not in the landfill. That's not in the landfill. I have a coffee table that came out of a wood salvage yard. And every time I look at it, I think, somebody could have ground that up, but it's beautiful. Yeah. It's so beautiful. And could I have gone to the local whatever and just brought it home? And yes, there's no judgment, but I wanted something that had a story. Could I have bought a tree stump off somewhere online? Yeah, I could have, but it wouldn't have elicited the same kind of energetic joy.
All the siding on our house is from pickle barrels, cypress that was used in pickle barrels. And when we first built the house, the first time it rained, you could smell vinegar.
Like pickles.
Smelled like
my
vinegar.
gosh. That's incredible. Yeah. Pickle barrels. I wouldn't have. I mean, are those the size of wine barrels? I mean, are they big?
They're huge. They're much bigger. They're much bigger. Okay. Cypress is a perfect wood for that because the grain is so tight and it has kind of a natural occurring oil that doesn't allow the moisture, right? So it lasts forever in a siding, right? So it makes perfect sense. We had to soak the boards to get all the salt and the vinegar out of it, but of course you can't get it all out. So even now, you can see areas where the salt, it's alive. It's truly living. It's truly living.
Yeah. And it's all material that deserves to have a second chance, quite honestly, rather than going into some landfill. And
right.
Yeah. Again, I am no angel or certainly not perfect in that, but even just applying any effort towards it feels better.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah. No, I just was I was seeing some of that and really resonating with it.
Love it.
Libby, if people want to connect with you and find you and pre-order your next book, talk a little bit about that.
Well, the next book is coming out in September. Thank you for asking, by the way. Coming out in September of 2025. It's from my dear Chronicle Press, publishers out in San Francisco. And I adore their books. They care about kerning. They care about design. Their books are beautiful. They actually print color photographs, so it'll have some of my photographs in it. It's called Cold Joy, and the idea that you and I quickly were talking about is there's a lot of conversation right now about getting in the cold water, and I know it's easy to roll your eyes at, but the way my dear mermaid friends and I get in the water is sort of different from the social narrative that's out there now, which I think is a lot about how long do you get in? How long did you stay in? How cold was it? There's a little edge of kind of, measurement or, a little competition, and we get in very differently. So cold joy is kind of an expression of, we get in the water and have a really good time. And as I mentioned, we hug and kiss and tell each other we love each other. And, so that book's coming out in September of 2025. And there will be a website. I'm in the process of building it. It'll be
Nice.
thiscoldjoy.com. But you can find me at my Instagram, which is Park Here. I know. There's a lot of meanings to Park Here. I created it however many years ago, and it turns out my middle name is Park. And so one of my dear, actually, writer friends in the ad world was like, "Oh, it's got to be Park Here." So I'm Park Here. And then also on This Morning Walk on Instagram is our sort of walking community. So yeah, those two places, and thismorningwalk.com. Reach out.
And talk a little bit about your podcast.
Oh, yeah, it's great. We're on our third season. Blind Nil Audio is hosting us, which is Chip and Joanna Gaines, which is wonderful. They do the production, do a terrific job. And we talk to all sorts of wonderful people. It's not necessarily just about a walking practice. What's your walking practice? It's sort of this beautiful invitation of what are you walking through? And recently we've sort of shifted it, and I go for a walk with the person I'm talking to. So it's sometimes it's a little noisy and crunchy and crisp, but it's and that's This Morning Walk on all the podcasty places. Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Well, Libby, this has been really a lot of fun to connect
Sure
with
has.
you. I really appreciate the chance. We made the list of people I wanted to have on this season. You really were at the top of the list.
No,
And
isn't that
I was,
nice?
yeah, well, I really wanted to, I don't know. Yeah. I'll put a period at the end of the sentence.
Well,
Just
thank
say
you.
Thank you.
You're a terrific interviewer. Ask really great questions. I should say conversationalist. It felt like having a conversation with someone I'd known a long time, and we were just catching up. So thank you for that.
I really appreciate that. And I'm really looking forward to the book.
Oh, thank you.
And I've taken
Me too.
I have a few little nuggets that you've left me with to think about the next time I hop in the cold water.
Okay. And just remember, we're with you, even if we're not sitting on the
Yes.
side of the ice with you.
I'll send you a picture.
Okay, great. I'd love it.